Alright, back for the final little bit. She's almost there. Right, so you can see we've weathered her up, and you can see the grime down the bottom there, you can see the dry brushing, you can see the oil that's gone into the rest of the body. There's our roof, so we've reassembled that, and that's fixed in now, that's locked in. No more worries about fingerprints. That's all it took. I cheated a little bit. I gave it a quick hit with a hairdryer on a very low setting. I wasn't going to blow off into the Never Never, and it just dried in front of my eyes momentarily. Great little tool to have in there, particularly if you use a lot of acrylic paints. You don't have to wait days for these things to dry. Hit them with a hairdryer, you're good to go. Now it's a little bit glossy in places, just from where there's been some oil and we've used enamel thinners and that sort of stuff. We're going to take care of that in a minute. Pop that roof back on, and we've reattached our wheels onto there as well. There we go, that's got them back on. So wheels are underneath too, and as we spin them around you can see there's no gaps, we haven't missed anything. Now there's a couple little detail points we can fix up now. Buffers generally butt up against other buffers, so we're going to try and replicate that as well. We're not going to use a brush to do that, we're actually going to use a cotton tip. Okay, and we're going to use some paint over here. What style of paint, what brand of paint you use doesn't really matter. What we're going for is a darkened steel type look. Don't use silver. Okay, but if we go with a steel and we add a bit of black to it, we're getting sort of a dark gunmetal type colour. Two colours I generally always try and avoid for weathering would be any aluminium or silver, unless that part was actually made of aluminium. It's too tinny, too toy-like, and white. And we try and avoid white for dry brushing or detail work where we can, because once again, it's too stark. Particularly when you're talking model paints. The only time I'd really bring back the white is if again that part was white. So things like some brake wheels that ran around the bottom of the chassis and things like that may have been white. You know, if they're fairly new, go for it, use white. I tend to use a very, very light grey, and even then I might hit it with a bit of grime. Occasionally I will use white as a highlight on those things, but it's about the only time. And sometimes if there were white identification marks, use those as well, if they were meant to be white. So I'm going to have a go at doing these buffers while we're here out of some gunmetal paint, and that's really about all we've got left to go. Once they're on, all we're going to do is give this its final coat. So I don't like things that are too shiny, particularly in models, so we're going to come across this with a final coat of flat. Okay, and we'll skip over to the airbrush to do that. We're just going to use the SMS flat clear today. Just watch when you're applying any flat coats, dull coats, Tamiya flat clears, that type of thing. Again, and you heard me say it lots of times in these videos, less is more. It's tempting sometimes, there's only a little bit left in the cup on the airbrush. I'll use it all, I'll spray it. You go that one little bit too far, and all of a sudden, all your flat turns white and wrecks your model. So we don't want to do that. So just mist on your flat coats from a distance. You're not trying to paint the model in this case. You're just trying to mist on that flat coat just to give it that final patina where it won't be shiny. I don't know if you can see this model with the light that I've got here today, but particularly around this area here, you can see where there has been some oil in those oil paints, and it's left that surface quite shiny, looking quite unrealistic. So we'll crack on to do those buffers with a bit of stainless. Not stainless, sorry, with a bit of steel. Okay, we're just going to go a couple of drops out of a little dropper bottle. If you're using Tamiya's, that's fine. If you're using Life Colours, doesn't matter what you use, as long as you're getting a darkened metal colour. Okay, I'll use the brush just to mix them up. There we go, that's what we're after. Oops, had alcohol in the last one. That's what we're after there. But again, I'm not going to use the brush to apply this because I don't want any streaks, and I want a slightly different effect this time. So I'm going to dip the cotton tip in that mixture. I'm going to take some of it back off so we'd end up with a big blob of it. Okay, and then hopefully what we should be able to do, that's going to give us a semicircle. It's not even, so it's going to show some wear, like a warm circle on that end, like that. So you're getting a little bit of wear on them, still showing the darkened black sort of grime colour around the outsides, but you're getting an uneven circle where that would buff up and hit the other one. Not going to be tempted to go back with the gunmetal on anything else. Sometimes that can just overdo it. So I'm just going to leave that as it is for now. I'm going to give it a quick flat coat. I'll be back in a sec.